Hi, Nushaina here with another virtual reality video. Yay! So it's been an unforgettable week for the virtual reality community, to say the least. There's plenty of videos on the topic, but VRchat pushed some updates that the community was not very happy about, and understandably so. They, with very little notice, took modifications out of the game, including modifications that make the game playable for people with certain disabilities. I won't go into too much detail, mainly because I'm a virtual reality newbie, but it's like if McDonald's announced that they were no longer serving sodas and sauces and salt. Basically, VRchat took something that was core to people's experience of the game for years out of the game, and people are upset. A lot of people are finding new homes, maybe for a little bit, maybe for longer. And I don't really talk about this emotion much on this channel, but it kind of just made me a little sad, I guess. Mainly I'm sad for my friends, because I know how much VR means to so many of them. And people put in so many hours to make these worlds really fun and amazing and immersive for all that gather in VRchat. So yeah, the community feels like they weren't listened to, and as a result, I think it's going to be commonplace for at least a while that we're going to be running several virtual reality apps to socialize with one another. So I've been putting out YouTube content for about 5 years now, and I haven't really talked about the emotion of sadness. I think a lot of it is to do with the fact that I wanted this to be a positive, uplifting channel, but over the years I've realized that you have to open up about all your emotions. You can't just hide certain emotions, because that's just part of life. And I think this is the perfect segue into getting in touch with these emotions. Being a content creator, being very visible, there's a ton of positives. I've met so many amazing people, amazing friends for life through being a silly hyena on the internet. And there's so much good that comes with having a platform and being able to entertain people. But it's not without its struggles and its hardships. And really what this video is about is navigating those harder emotions that are just kind of a part of life. And that's why I titled this video, Embracing Your Inner Weirdo. Because look, as furries, we come from all different walks of life, different corners of the world, different upbringings. But the one thing that brings us all together as furries is embracing the unusual. And when I say unusual, I mean not normal seeming to most people. In a community like this, you can show off your real, true, authentic self and have people embrace you for the things that make you you. As long as you're trying to express your authentic self and do good for others. So this video is about just one of the ways that you can help navigate the storms of life. Now, obviously, there are a ton of known, scientifically proven solutions that will help you get through tough periods. Things like therapy, things like exercise, things like social support. These things are extremely important. I should mention I'm not a mental health expert. Now, this advice might only be specific to certain people, but at least I hope you can enjoy my perspective. But in my experience, some of the times that I'm feeling down, sometimes when I'm not fully feeling myself, it's because I'm maybe suppressing certain parts of myself, because that's how I was conditioned through my upbringing. I had to learn that these weird, unusual parts of myself I kind of had to not show in order to avoid ridicule and just be able to make it through my adolescence, right? I'm sure a lot of us have experiences like that. But when you're an adult and you're out in the world, you tend to have more choices. And one of the biggest choices you have every day is how much of yourself do you express? And as furries, we are drawn to this community. We're drawn to anthropes, art, fursuits, conventions, because there is something weird that we want to express. And when I say weird, I'm talking about unusual, because to a lot of people, they see the fursuits and the ways that we socialize and they don't get it. And I don't think it's our job to be gotten by every single person. What I've learned in my years of life is that some people have just very closed off views of the world and they expect people to behave a certain way, and in some ways, weirdness is not going to get the approval of those folks because they already have an idea what people are like. But if you have something different inside of you that you want to express, it's still really important to express that. And really, I should only be speaking for myself, and maybe some of my experiences could help somebody watching this video. It's kind of nuts looking back and realizing that one of my biggest secrets of my adolescence was the fact that I wanted to be an anthro animal. I think I was so accustomed to not showing certain parts of my individuality because I learned in my environment growing up that I just had to appear a certain way and behave a certain way in order to fit in and just get through the day. But in some ways it kind of created something that was missing within me. And by embracing furry in my early 20s, I definitely was able to get a lot of that back. So yeah, the weirdest thing about me growing up is I wanted to be an anthro more than anything. My dream job was to be a mascot, and I was lucky enough to do that for a bit. And I always wanted to be a furry, but I was kind of scared of joining because I was concerned about what the people around me would think at the time. It's kind of embarrassing, but one of my big dreams growing up was literally to own a fursuit. Like, hello tracking? Hello? I love this new VRchat update. I would literally go on Furry's live journals and Fur Affinity and wherever else furries were online, the fursuit database, and look at fursuits and just yearn to be part of that community. And yet, I was so afraid of showing the weird part of myself, it took me until 22 to actually express that, even though I was aware of furry for like 8 or 9 years from when I discovered it. And I would like have these dreams where I would be wearing a fursuit and looking in the mirror and seeing myself in anthro form, and then I would wake up and it wasn't there anymore. And it was just this part of myself that I needed to express, and yet I shied away from doing it. And I'm not sure if regret's the word, but I'm sure glad that I did jump in. Put a fursuit, met my life partner, met amazing friends, but jumping into furry kind of involved embracing my inner weirdo. For as long as I could remember, I always wanted to wear full body costumes. It was definitely a quirk from even a young age. And maybe it was me unconsciously attaching myself to something different. Maybe I wasn't made to feel welcome enough as myself, and I looked for external things, a way I could appear that would help me become accepted. So, I literally watched the movie Teen Wolf about a high schooler that becomes a wolf and gets really good at basketball and makes a bunch of friends, and I was literally like, I want to be Teen Wolf. And I don't think that was necessarily the moral of the movie, but I always yearned for this way to escape and be something different and be embraced as something different. Of course, over the years I've realized, it's cliche, but all of those wonderful parts of me that I wanted to be were already inside, already there. I just had to let those parts of myself out, embrace my inner weirdo. And at this stage, I think I'm just making this video for me, but I really have to stress how afraid I was of expressing my furry side because I was concerned about how people would think. And look, if you're curious about furry and you're not a furry yet, you don't have to tell every single soul out there that you're a furry. You don't have to wear a fursuit to work and 24/7. For most people, it's not like that. For most people, it's enjoying the furry spaces that we have. Enjoying logging into VR and hanging out with your friends here. Enjoying going to conventions and meets and socializing and fursuiting if you have one, commissioning art. So yeah, you don't have to be furry and appear as a furry 24/7. But in order to find the fulfillment of self-expression through a community like this, you have to allow that weird part of yourself to come out some of the time. And the reason why I'm making this video, mostly for myself, is for me it is important to keep putting out that weird part of myself out there. Even if I'm aware of it, it's not worth suppressing because at the end of the day I know that I'm always happier when I can express all parts of myself. Which is why I think it's also important for me to talk about the not so positive emotions sometimes. And to let some of the folks watching this know that content creators go through storms too. I know it might seem silly to some, but we are people too. We go through the same things, even if we are in a position in certain areas of life that are desirable to be in. There's a lot of awesome stuff about being a content creator and having a platform to express myself and be goofy and silly. There is also the feedback of having potentially thousands or tens of thousands of eyes on you. But I guess what I've learned in my 5 years of doing furry YouTube is, for me personally, I'm at my happiest when I let that weird part of myself out. When I let my imperfections show. And just do the things that I really like to do, like wear costumes around the house. I honestly would be one of those folks that would fursuit every day, and sometimes that's the case. Because quite honestly, to me, being an anthro, wearing fursuits, having this VR avatar, these are all things that are core to my self-expression. It's kind of just a part of me. As I become more self-aware over the years, it's important for me to not edit myself too much and show my true self. Otherwise, I'm kind of editing and suppressing myself in the same way that I was doing before I joined Furry. Now, obviously, working on yourself is really important, okay? You have the means, go to therapy. Pursue those goals that are important to your self-improvement. That might be fitness, that might be in getting a certain qualification or doing a certain thing in your career. It's important to pursue all of those things. But I think it's very healthy to show all parts of yourself. You don't have to overshare absolutely everything online. But I think it's so important to let yourself be weird, because that's kind of, for a lot of us, the source of our joy and happiness, at least when it comes to this fandom. So yeah, I don't think you're too old to run around in a fursuit or make silly videos for YouTube or TikTok. I don't think you're ever too old to jump on Twitch and start playing your favorite game as your persona. I think when we start to believe that we can express certain parts of ourselves, we're kind of letting this weird, wonderful part of ourselves with great body tracking go away, and it's just really important to express the silly parts of yourself that make you you, imperfections and all. Because once I joined Furry, I kind of dove in and never looked back, in the sense that I'm overall a lot happier from the first day I started expressing this part of myself, letting the weirdo out. Expressing that part of me that always wanted to be an andro and wear suits and socialize with other folks that were like that. Obviously I got tastes of that as a mascot, but it wasn't the same. I'm sure I met a furry or two in my mascotting days. But there is a difference between making something anthro a career and being part of an anthro community where everyone really, really wants to be there and express themselves in certain ways that you can't do as a mascot. See, I'm already feeling better just recording this. I've been looking at my andro reflection this whole time. So what you're seeing is also what I'm seeing in real time. So that's one thing that's really neat about virtual reality. I kind of need to remind myself to let that power out of myself, to stop caring so much what people think about me and just do the things that make me happy, because that's why we are in this community. Hey, so that was today's video. Thank you so much for watching me open up and all the silly things I did as well. I just appreciate everyone who's come along with me on this journey, entertaining and self-improvement and self-expression. I'm just really honored that you're coming along for the ride with me. So shout out to my super secret patrons. My name's Nasahina, and I will catch you next time. Yay!